Do I look frazzled right now? If I don't, go me, because I promise I feel 110% frazzled. Hi everyone, Rosie here. Welcome back to my channel. That sounded so rushed, but whatever, we're not going to re-record it. Yes, I am very frazzled. Cannot promise any coherent thoughts in this, my April wrap-up, which, I mean, is kind of the theme for the month. I don't know if I've had a single coherent thought about a book in the entire month of April. If you've been watching some of my weekend reading vlogs for the last couple months, you will know that I have been referring to nebulous life admin stuff that's been going on and keeping me busy. My partner pointed out that makes it sound like I'm doing some sort of tax fraud. I promise I'm not. Basically, my partner and I have been in the market for a house for the last several months. It's been pretty stressful. The market is not good, and we have a bit of a deadline because we have to move out of this apartment by the end of July. So we've sort of had that pressure on us. Anyways, the good news is we bought a house. It's official now. I can say it. It's ours. My partner is actually there moving some stuff right now. But also we went, it moved super fast, and we went from at the beginning of the month being like, fuck, we've got to find something. We got to keep doing viewings to legit, we're moving in a week. When you're seeing this, 2 weeks when I'm filming this. You know how it all works. Anyways, it's super freaking complicated. There's so much to do. I'm not saying this to rant or to complain. I'm so excited. We're so lucky and so grateful to be able to do this, and so excited, and it's all very positive. But also, if I could enter all of the forms and documents that I have read in the month of April into my Storygraph reading challenge, I'm pretty sure it would double the amount of reading I did. Basically, all of that is to say, my brain is a mess. I'm pretty sure it's scrambled eggs up in here right now, nothing more. I didn't read that much in April, and I didn't have that many thoughts on the things I did read, so let's just get into this. The first book I read in April was Second Foundation by Isaac Asimov. This is the third book in the original Foundation trilogy that he wrote in the 1950s, and then there's a few prequels/sequels that he wrote later as well in the Foundation series. The Foundation series follows the Foundation, which is a colony of scientists and engineers that's established on the edge of a galaxy when a huge galactic empire is collapsing. This one guy realizes that if he doesn't do something to preserve all of the knowledge and the skills and the technology that's been built up, it's gonna be lost, and we're gonna be in a mega Dark Ages type thing. So he creates this foundation, he sends all the knowledge there. Okay, it's good. They're supposedly going to help a second empire rise in 1,000 years as opposed to 30,000 years. I don't really want to talk about the plot to the third book at all, which is the one I've actually just read, because I feel like by talking about the plot of this one, I'm going to spoil things from the first two, which I don't want to do. So if that concept sounds interesting, check out the first one. I think they're all really good. I really enjoyed the plot in this one. From what I can remember, it's the most one plot centric of the group, so that's pretty cool. I enjoyed that. There are so many layers of conspiracy, so that was super fun. I was really proud of myself. I guessed one layer. There was a second layer that I totally hadn't even thought about, but I did get one of the layers. So I'm like, okay, I did all right. Overall, though, reading this book left me with the feeling that when I'm reading Asimov's books, I enjoy them a lot. They're really good. I enjoy his writing. It's fun. But as soon as I finish reading it, it's I forget that I like it, and I don't think to pick up anything else that he's written. So, I don't know. It might be a long time before I read any more of his works. I always feel sort of with stuff like that where there's loads of them and they're kind of a classic, it's he's always going to be there. Can always get to that later. The second book I read was The Penelopiad by Margaret Atwood. This is a retelling of the Odyssey from the point of view of Penelope, Odysseus's wife, and I did a whole video reviewing that one and talking about how much I loved it, so I will link that up here, and you should check that out if you would like to know more about this one, or just pick it up and read it because it's great, and I would love to see more people read it and talk about it because I think there's so much interesting discussion to be had there. The third book I read in April, that's what month we just had, it was April, was How to Be a Tudor by Ruth Goodman, which, like the title says, is about everyday life in the Tudor period and day-to-day history type stuff. Again, I did a whole review about this one, so I'll link that up here as well, but it was a really enjoyable book, and again, another one I highly recommend checking out. The fourth book I read in April was Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. My first note is that I took 0 notes. I know, I always do this. I mentioned in my weekend reading vlog, which I will link up here as well that I was starting it, and it's one of those books where literally every sentence you go, wow, that is so insightful or funny or both, and I need to highlight that to talk about. So actually probably my review would be super short because I would have no idea what to say, and I think that's going to be the case. This is one of the standalone books in the Discworld series, and it follows Bertha, I think that's how we pronounce it, who's sort of a failed novice in the Omnian Church. And one day he's out in the melon patch or something, tending to the garden, when a tortoise falls out of the sky and begins to talk to him. Then I don't think it's a spoiler for this book at all to reveal that this tortoise is in fact the god Om, who has been stuck in the body of a tortoise for 3 years. And again, I don't think this is spoilery. Yell at me in the comments if it is. Basically, Om is stuck as a tortoise because Bertha is the last person who truly believes in him. So the Omnian Church is this huge bureaucracy, massive church, but it's got to the point where no one actually believes in the God anymore. And basically, we have bureaucracy, we have corruption, we have politics, and we have philosophers, we have a prototype tank, we have a very, very annoyed tortoise. I don't know what there is to not love in this book. I've heard a lot of people mention that Small Gods is their favorite Discworld novel, and I get it. I see why. It's fantastic, and I am so looking forward to rereading it again in a couple years. Around this point in the month, I read the first half, or rather I listened to the first half, of A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I read this for a buddy read with Nat of Nerdy Nat Reads and Lana of Lennox Libris and Emerita of Emerita by the Book, and we did a live show on Nat's channel about the first half of the book. So I'll link the live show up here and down below. I say I read the first half. In the live show, I wasn't sure if I was going to continue or not. I was sort of feeling like, I'm not enjoying this book. Honestly, none of us liked it that much, so if this is your favorite book and you don't want to hear people speak negatively about it, maybe don't watch that live show. But yeah, I wasn't really liking it that much. I thought I might power through the second half and try and finish it just to see what happens. But in the last 2 weeks of the month, I just did not want to read this book, even though I only had 5 hours left of the audiobook. So I DNF'd it and read the Wikipedia page instead, and wow. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the second half of this book. Almost maybe like some things should have happened in the first half to get me interested in that. But, like I said, go check out that live show. I'm not going to rehash all that negativity now. I told you I was frazzled, didn't I? Apparently I completely forgot to talk about Girl, Woman, Other, which, how did I forget that? I only absolutely adored this book. I did a whole reading vlog though, so that will be linked in the corner. As always, if you haven't heard of Girl, Woman, Other, it's a novel in 12 parts about 12 different women who live very different lives, but are mostly Black, mostly British, mostly women, and their lives intersect in different ways. As I said, this book was phenomenal. I loved it so, so much, and if you would like to watch me sharing my love for it for 15 minutes straight, check out that reading vlog, and I won't repeat myself here. Throughout the entire month, I was reading Au Bonheur des Dames by Émile Zola. This is the Lady's Paradise in English, and I read it for a read-along organized by Pauline of Dancing Lawn. This was my first Zola, who's a huge writer in the French classics, and I think it was a pretty good choice. This novel is all about the rise of a new department store in Paris and the rise of department stores and that model of commerce in general. So we're seeing how the department stores are doing retail differently and then what effect that's having on the small-scale neighborhood family-owned businesses type thing. Spoiler alert, it's not good for them. But we see all of this through the perspective of Denise, who is a young woman, I think she's like 20 when the book starts, who moves to Paris to try and support herself and her brothers, and she ends up getting a job in the department store. Then many events ensue. I'll start with the stuff that I really liked about this book, because it's always nice to start positive, right? I loved the descriptions. This book is so full of vivid imagery about the department store and the clothing, well, not so much the clothing, but like the merchandise and the different fabrics and the way the store is staged and the huge crowds in the store when they're having, you know, their new collection releases type events. I know some people in the read-along group found that like a bit much, which, fair. I get that. But for me, it was so much fun. I loved the descriptions. I'm a bit of a historical costuming nerd, like from the sidelines. So for me, reading all of these descriptions was fascinating. I felt really like transported into this world. It was so good. I also really enjoyed the fact that the actual commerce and marketing strategies and business strategies were largely discussed. There was a lot of page time spent talking about how this store was doing things to change things up and how that was different from what used to be done and all of that. Again, personally, I found that so interesting. And also there's a lot of stuff in this that's gonna make you go, wait, was this actually written in the 1880s? Because this could be written right now about Amazon. And finally, I did really like the character of Denise. She's a bit of a doormat. Okay, she's a major doormat at the beginning especially, and just like lets everyone walk all over her, which wasn't super fun to read about. But she is so hardworking and kind and patient and intelligent and just never seems to let the awful things the world is doing to her bring her down to the world's level. She is so committed to staying true to herself and her morals and her sense of identity, despite everything that happens to her, that you kind of just can't help but like her, I think. And now I'm going to talk about the stuff that I didn't like. This part might be spoilery. It probably will be because I don't want to try and avoid spoilers too much. So either watch on if you've already read it or you don't care about spoilers for this book, which fair, or if not, there will be a timestamp in the description where you can skip to where I talk about the next book that I read. Basically, one of the main plot threads in this book is a romance between Denise and Margaret, the man who owns the department store. I just couldn't get into it. I did not like it. I did not like it at all. It did not work for me. It wasn't insta-love in the sense that they met and fell in love, but it was insta-love in that they saw each other in passing in a busy department store a few times, have a random encounter, and now we're passionately in love. And that's all well and good. You can tell me how, like, you've never loved a woman this way in your life, but I'm just sitting here going, dude, you have never talked to this woman. You've never had a conversation with her. How can you be instantly and passionately and like so strongly in love with her without ever talking to her? And Denise isn't much better. She's also like, oh damn, oh crap, I'm majorly in love with him. I'm gonna refuse him and like not get involved because I'm so in love and I don't want to get hurt, which, good plan, he's a major womanizer, but you don't know each other. How can you love each other? And then Margaret, who, as I have said, is a massive womanizer and basically is used to being able to, because of his money, get any woman he wants, keeps like offering her better jobs and promoting her and giving her more power in the store. But like, she has, you know, internal morals and is like, no, I don't want to be your mistress. Okay, I'll take the promotion, but like, I'm not gonna sleep with you. It just, like, on all sides, I hated it. Especially since Margaret then gets into the, oh my god, she's the only woman who's ever said no to me, and like, this makes me even more in love with her type thing. I'm just like, I don't care. I don't want to read about that. I don't like this. Then there's apparently years that pass, which I didn't realize until the last chapter, and I was like, oh, okay, that explains some stuff. But over the span of these years, well, Denise has all of this power, and everyone's like, yeah, she's the best because she's super intelligent, and like, she should have been promoted because she was super capable, not because the boss was in love with her. Like I said, there's some things that piss me off about this book, but we also get the trope of, I don't know if this is an official trope, but of, you know, the powerful man who decides to care about his employees because the lovely woman tells him that he should, where, you know, she says, hey, maybe it wouldn't be good for business if we fire women as soon as they have a kid because, like, we're having girls die because they're trying to hide their pregnancy is kind of an issue. And he's like, oh yeah, of course, I'll change our practices now. And it's like, okay, but you're not doing this because you've changed as a person or because you want to be a better employer. You're doing this because the chick you want to bone asks you to. That doesn't make it a good thing. Then, in the last few pages of the book, Margaret finally is like, oh crap, she's gonna leave. She said she's gonna quit. I better propose because, like, fine, I'll finally marry you. I need to keep you here. And she refuses? And then, like, she says yes, and I'm just very confused. All of this probably makes it sound like I hated this book. which I didn't. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it. I think the thing that saved it is the romance gets so little page time. There'd be like a little bit of progression in each chapter, as opposed to each chapter is focused on the romance and the store stuff is around it, that I could sort of just skip over that part. But honestly, if the romance had been a more prominent part of this book, I probably would have DNF'd it, because I hated the romance and loved everything else about it. The last book I read in April was another audiobook, and that was Medium Raw by Anthony Bourdain. Technically I finished this on May 1st, but like, we're gonna go with it. I mostly read it in April. This is the last book that Bourdain wrote, and I would say it's more like a collection of essays than a cohesive book about one topic, but it's basically revisiting a lot of the things that he thought about and talked about in Kitchen Confidential, or the people, or the places, and thinking about how dining and the restaurant industry has changed, what stayed the same, where does he feel differently now, how has his different perspective affected all that. It was really interesting. And unfortunately, I have no idea what to say about it. It was good. It was fun. I enjoyed reading it. I enjoyed listening to it. The content was interesting, but I just really didn't take any notes or think about it at all, so I don't have anything reviewy to say about it, unfortunately. I don't really know where to go from that. Like, it was a good book, but I just, did not have the mental capacity to think about it. It was more just enjoyable to read, which that's okay. I keep having to remind myself this month that it's okay to just read to enjoy it. Just because I usually read to like review and like think a bit more now doesn't mean I always have to do that, and it's okay to just enjoy my books. All right, having now reassured myself of that, let me know, what did you read in April? I hope it was a good reading month for you. Let me know what you're planning to read in May. I hope you have a great reading month next month. Yay! Good reading for everybody. And let me know down below as well if you've read any of these, what your thoughts are, if you agree, disagree. Please don't hate me for not liking A Court of Thorns and Roses. Different books for everyone, right? Alright, as always, if you like this video, please give it a like down below. If you would like to see more of my videos, please hit subscribe, and thank you for watching.